Hello and welcome once again to Intro to Computer Games and Simulations here at Lorain County Community College. I'm Mike Substelny, your instructor this term, and we are moving into the third module of our class together. We're going to be talking today about what makes a good game. Last time we talked about some key terms such as players and objectives, rules, procedures. You should understand all of those concepts and be able to use all of those words the way we use them in this class. Today's topic is going to be all about fun. And we're going to be this time in the Game Maker's Apprentice. We won't be doing a chapter in Game Design Workshop this week. We're going to be working in Chapter 5 of the Game Maker's Apprentice. So let's talk about the fun in the game Evil Clutches, the game we made the first week where we controlled a dragon, a mama dragon that's trying to rescue her babies from the evil boss demon. And the evil boss demon sends demons to try to kill you. You can shoot the demons with your fireballs. Your babies escape, and you can accidentally shoot your babies too. And that's the way that game works, and it's pretty simple rules, but it's also reasonably fun. Well, let's take a look at this other game that they've made. It's the exact same thing without the graphics or the cool sounds. This is Evil Squares, and we're going to show you Evil Squares on the screen here, where the mama dragon is instead a gray circle that instead of fireballs shoots little yellow balls. The babies are little tiny versions of you, the gray balls. And the demons are big blue squares, and when you crash into a demon, it's the exact same rules without all the fancy stuff you had in the other version of the game, in the version we made. Evil Squares has very crude graphics, just squares and circles. It has very crude sound effects, just bleeps and bloops. It has no music at all. It has a lot of fun in it still. It plays exactly the same as Evil Clutches, and it's still playable. Why is this game still playable even without the graphics and sounds? We say it is because Evil Squares has good game mechanics. It has the same game mechanics as Evil Clutches. Game mechanics being defined as the basic rules and interactions that make a game fun to play. We will use that term throughout this semester. And the rules and interactions create an interactive challenge for the player. You have goals such as intercepting babies and shooting demons. You have rewards like points for doing good things. It's much more interactive than a book or film or even a toy. And your book goes on to say even more is possible. Let's look at another version of the game that they created for us. Let's look at the big version of Evil Clutches that comes with the book. When we bring this up, you can see that you are allowed to select your character, and you can rescue the babies here. You can see that you get a power-up of invulnerability. There's a count taken of the babies you've rescued, and you can imagine when you rescue enough babies, you will get a reward for doing that. You also have a count taken. You can see the numbers of demons that you've slaughtered appearing there. We've now rescued 17, 18, 19 of 22 babies. A couple more. There's our 20th baby rescued. 21, one more baby. And boom, we get a reward. We get bonus points, and we get this little animation of the babies tormenting the boss demon. Isn't that great? That gave us even more rewards, even more interactivity in this version of Evil Clutches. So by adding these goals, sub-goals, and rewards, we've added to the challenge And you can see evil2.new on the CD that comes with the textbook if you happen to have that CD. And rescuing some number of babies, depending on which version of the game, is an important goal. We learn that sub-goals are an easy way to engage the player. And let's talk about the difference between a goal and a sub-goal. Each baby rescued is a sub-goal achieved in this game toward the big goal of rescuing 22 or 50 or however many. So once you've rescued the 22 babies, you've reached a goal. Each single baby rescued we would call a sub-goal. When you review your games, understand what a sub-goal is. A demon killed is a sub-goal achieved, one demon. A whole bunch of demons takes you toward a bigger goal. You will play games this week, and some of you will say, well, that game had no sub-goals, and that is never a correct answer. Every game you will play in this class has sub-goals that add up to some bigger goal in the game. Let's talk about sub-goals and rewards. By getting rewards like the 4,410 points, the bonus points, that helps maintain the interest of the player. So you got some points every time you rescued a baby, but you got a whole bunch of points when you rescued the goal number of babies. Let's talk about the psychology of sub-goals a little bit by looking at Bejeweled Blitz here. This is a movie of me playing this 20-second long game where I'm making matches on the screen. You can see sliding these jewels around to make a match. You can see I'm missing an important one right there with the orange that I didn't get. And I'm making my matches and getting my points, and I'm going as fast as I can and still not seeing that one. Oh, and now I notice it. If only I'd spotted that one thing at the very last minute, I would have done so much better. The idea of sub-goals is, I was so close, especially in a nice short 1-minute game like a lot of these Facebook games are. It makes you want to play again. Invest one more minute to do a little bit better. Now, to explore this idea further, we're going to take a look at a game that I do not like. We introduced this last time, the Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Rings game. It's the Vivendi version based on the book, not the EA game that's based on the movie. The EA game is pretty good. Well, this is good in its own way, too, as we'll see. In this game, the player becomes Frodo Baggins of the Shire, a Hobbit character. Frodo starts the game running around in the Shire, in his own home, and he's actually has to learn his way around his own home, which seems kind of illogical. In the game, he helps other hobbits in their everyday lives, doing their everyday things for the first long period of the game. You'll notice in the upper left corner here, Frodo has a purity meter, and by doing good deeds, he charges up his purity meter. He raises his level of purity, and that's important because he burns off purity when he makes use of the Great Ring of Power. And so by doing good deeds, he recharges his purity. Now, these good deeds that he does, they are challenging sub-goals. He has some puzzles to solve and some things to do, and they will engage a player, especially if they really are into running around in the Shire. The thing is that they are not dangerous. Even Evil Squares offers the player more risk than the beginning of Lord of the Rings Fellowship of the Ring here. Frodo just can't get hurt in the first part of Fellowship, whereas you could die any second in Evil Squares. All right, this Fellowship game was popular with Tolkien fans who loved being immersed in the Shire and just spent their whole lives wishing they could be a hobbit living in Bag End at the Shire. And the game is filled with action, yet action gamers panned it if you read online reviews of this game. Now let's compare Fellowship of the Ring to a much more popular game, Grand Theft Auto 4. Niko Bellic, the protagonist of Grand Theft Auto 4, also has a purity meter, believe it or not, despite the fact that he is quite an unpure character. Grand Theft Auto 4 calls it a wanted level indicator, and as those stars increase and your wanted level gets higher and higher, you are in more and more trouble. The wanted level indicator and the purity meter both do the same thing, believe it or not. If the level of wanted gets too high or the level of purity gets too low, then the game will quickly end. Either the cops will close in on Niko or the Black Riders will close in on Frodo. Either way, game over. And despite these similarities, these games give players completely different experiences. Let's talk about how these two games differ. All right. From the very start of the game, within a couple of minutes in this open world, Niko can face danger. He can go get beat up or killed as fast as he could possibly want to in this game. So there's challenge involved in risk. Frodo and Niko both challenge the player to do certain tasks of helping characters in the Shire to charge up your purity meter, or running various missions for Niko Bellic. Frodo, when he's charging up that purity meter at the beginning of the game, he's facing no danger whatsoever. And it turns out to be kind of boring facing no danger. Niko can die at any moment in Grand Theft Auto 4. And that's a lot more thrilling for the player. And not just die, but suffer any sort of penalty becomes challenging for the player. Let's also talk about conflict and danger. In the Shire, Frodo does have conflict. It comes from petty squabbles between different hobbit characters that live there. Now, Niko's conflict isn't petty squabbles. Niko's conflict is dangerous. There are weapons. There are fist fights. There are cars to be stolen, wallets to be stolen, things like that. So last time we talked about what makes a good game. We talked about resources, boundaries, outcomes, challenges, which are all engaging. But risk, my friends, is even more engaging to players. If they've got something on the line, they will be riveted on your game. Now, Evil Clutches does have risk. Shooting a baby costs you some points. That's a risk. Touching a demon causes the game to come to a conclusion. And these are forms of punishment that the player will receive. Call them punishments. Now, your book also addresses the concept of unfair punishments in Chapter 5. I'm going to expect you to understand what an unfair punishment is for the rest of the semester. Here's the explanation. All right, players expect rewards when they do the right things playing the game. They expect punishments for making mistakes, for screwing up, for not being quite good enough or fast enough. Well, here we are looking at Evil Clutches. You can see the dragon has fired a fireball at this demon to kill that demon. But in Evil Clutches, straight out of the box, the way your book describes it, the fireball doesn't end when it hits that demon. This fireball is going to go on to hit that demon and then a baby. So by doing what you're supposed to do, firing that fireball to kill that demon, you've also killed the baby. Players get frustrated with that. They consider that to be unfair punishment. When you do the thing you're supposed to do to win the game and you get penalized for it. Unfair punishment. So, having conflict in the game is good, but the punishments, the loss of points or loss of lives or whatever in the game, should have justice. The player should have some control. They should have made some mistake to lose the life or the points or whatever. Your book also talks about the concept of control overload. Players do enjoy making decisions in games. We're going to explore that more in coming weeks. They like the decisions of games because they don't get to make decisions when they're watching a movie or reading a book or something like that generally, only when playing a game. But if you give them too many decisions too quickly, they could become overloaded. Here we have the engineering screen on Artemis Starship Bridge Simulator. You can see this engineer has a lot of decisions to make. They can boost the power to various different systems, the primary beams, the torpedoes, the tactical maneuvering, et cetera, et cetera. They can deploy coolant. They can go through their starship and send their damage control parties to fix damage. But they don't have to do all of those things at the same time. This game gives you a lot of controls on this screen, but they only have to do a manageable number of things at once. You can give your player control overload if you give them more than 5 to 9 things to do at once. 5 is the limit for some people. 9 is the limit for almost no one can go to 10, according to Game Maker's Apprentice, chapter 9 or page 93. So more than 5 controls, you might be getting some players into control overload. Now, context-sensitive controls can help with this. You can have way more than 5 controls as long as not any control can be used at any time. For instance, in the game Galactic Mail that you worked on in week 2 and 3, you have procedures for the control of the flying rocket. If you can press the left and right arrow keys, and the effects of those controls are the rocket will slowly turn left and slowly turn right as you're flying through space. Then when the rocket lands on a moon, the context has changed. All of a sudden, your same procedures of pressing the left and right arrow keys cause a new effect. The rocket will turn quickly to the left and quickly to the right, not slowly left and slowly right. But there's even another control that's added here. You get this whole new procedure when you're landed. If you press the space bar, the rocket launches off of the moon, which causes the moon to disappear from your scanner, and you begin flying around again. So that is an example of context-sensitive controls. Now, Galactic Mail is a spaceship game. The game has no weapons the way it's created, although I've started grading your Galactic Mails, and yes, some of you have made violent versions of Galactic Mail. Kudos to you. I really like those, but it was intended as a nonviolent game. There is no evil character in this game. Just asteroids flying around. Yet there is plenty of danger. A question I ask you, is there risk? What do we think here in the classroom? Is there risk involved here? Well, yes, there is risk. There is the risk of dying when you hit an asteroid. Now, is there conflict, even though there's no villain? I would say that, yes, there is conflict. The asteroids that are flying around at random are really no different from the demons that were flying around at random in Evil Clutches. You certainly thought of them as having conflict, even though they're both procedurally controlled, following a very simple set of rules for their movement. If you touch either one of them, the game ends. You were in conflict with the demons in Evil Clutches. You are in conflict with the asteroids in Galactic Mail. That's it for this week. Next time in Intro to Computer Games and Simulations, we're going to introduce formal and dramatic elements. We'll be back in Game Design Workshop next time. And until next time, this is Mike Substelny signing off for Intro to Computer Games and Simulations here at Lorain County Community College.